Hey, and welcome everybody
Hello.
to the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show, coming to you live from State College's Quaker Steak and Lube. I am quite obviously not Jeff the Ironhead Byers, who is on the road with the Penn State wrestling team, looking to keep on the winning track against the Terps down in Maryland tomorrow. I am joined by show regular, former Penn State offensive lineman Keith Goon Conlon.
Hello.
What's happening, Goon?
What's up, Bucci? How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm, living the dream.
Yeah,
Penn's Flyers tonight.
Big
Love
weekend
that.
up here.
Yep.
Got a little hockey going.
Coming off a Penn State basketball win last night. That was good.
You got some wrestling this weekend. You got Flyers Penguins tonight.
Yes, sir.
You got some NFL, Eagles Cowboys Saturday night.
Everyone in Pennsylvania is a huge Jacksonville Jaguars fan for differing reasons this weekend. The Steelers because they're trying to make the playoffs. The Eagles because they're trying to get a high draft pick. So go Jags, beat the Colts.
It's true. Would rather have a high draft pick or this is my scenario that I want to happen.
Yeah.
I want Jacksonville to win the game, and then that game end in a tie. The LA game or the the Raiders game end in a tie, and then the Steelers get kicked out of the playoffs.
Stranger things have happened this season.
Would that not be hilarious?
It would be crazy.
I mean, to have Jacksonville beat the Colts. So that would put them, 16 or 17 if they don't make the playoffs?
Yeah, thereabouts. Yeah, so, you figure Miami got disqualified from the postseason last week.
Yep.
If Indy can somehow just,
choke.
If the Jags can find a way to get it done, Philly's going to have 3 middle of the first round picks, which they can either make on guys that can improve their roster, or they can package them, move up, use them in a trade.
In
whatever.
Any shape or
Good
form in the last year, did you ever think that the Eagles' actual Eagles draft pick would be the highest of those 3? Think about that. You traded for Wentz and the Dolphins, and then, you had 3 first-round draft picks, and it's just hilarious that the Eagles' actual pick may be the highest one. What a year.
Yeah. Wow.
I know Ironhead and I say constantly we were super bullish about Penn State football this year, but I was very anti.
Oh boy, so was I. What a dummy.
I couldn't get it going for the Eagles in when the season started.
There was no reason to have faith in Philadelphia this season because they had essentially a rookie quarterback.
Coach.
A rookie head coach with a bunch of young guys on his staff, the most dead money against the salary cap in the league, and a roster that obviously was built to kind of just say, hey, look, we don't have a lot of cap room this year. We're rebuilding. We're just going to toss this season aside and then kind of start fresh next year. And, man, credit to Nick Sirianni. He was in a bad spot about halfway through the season, sitting at 2-5. And I was among the people who thought that maybe they had even brought him in as a one-year guy. And he made all the right moves and has really grown as a coach the second half of the season. Now, look, they haven't beaten world beaters, but you play who's on your schedule. And for this young team to get the experience of playing winner-go-home games down the stretch and getting to play in a playoff game on the road, I think that's going to be something you can build on going forward.
So the Eagles have 3 games in a row they've won, right? Is that what it is? 3? Giants, Redskins.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not talking about the 67
great.
Packers right here. But it is what it is. I mean, you play this season to get to the playoffs, and stranger things have happened. We were talking off the air who the Eagles want to play. I mean, well, you got to tell everybody what you said when you walked in. Conveniently, Monday morning, 28 guys in the Eagles get tested and get COVID.
Amazing.
Like,
how lucky are they that didn't happen next week or last week?
Yep.
Only this week where the game didn't mean anything.
When the game doesn't mean anything, and you've already
it's better to be lucky than be good, I guess.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know. I was
clearly
it's
Tampa, as we discussed.
You think it's going to be Tampa?
Well, I don't know if it's going to be Tampa, but you want Tom Brady versus the NFC East.
Oh,
right?
That's the matchup I want. I don't want anything to do with Kyler Murray. Well, Aaron Rodgers, that'll be the second week.
I think you'd rather, clearly you don't want to play Aaron Rodgers.
I don't want to play Aaron Rodgers.
You would rather see
a depleted Buccaneers team.
Yeah, because for as great as Brady is, injuries all up and down the lineup on offense there. And I would rather play Kyler than Dak Prescott, Aaron Rodgers, obviously, or Matt Stafford. If it wasn't going to be against the depleted roster in Tampa, you would want to play against Arizona. But look, there's so many moving pieces as far as what seed the Eagles are going to get and what seed the opponent would be for where they got seeded. I think you can't 4D chess your way out of this. You just do the COVID list thing this week.
Let it go.
And let your young guys, your backups, get some experience versus Dallas in a meaningless game or functionally meaningless game. And you just try to be as healthy as you possibly can with wherever you're going in the playoffs. Because, again, we're not
I think the Eagles are past the injury bug they had earlier in the year.
Yeah, we're not banking on this team going too deep into the postseason. This is about experience for your coaching staff and players to build on. You think so?
First year head coach in the Super Bowl. You didn't understand.
Sure.
You didn't understand the salary cap 4 or 5 months ago, but he's going to win a Super Bowl. Oh man,
why not? I'll take it over Derek Carr and the Raiders.
So I mean,
revenge for 1980. How about that?
Now you got to look at the playoff scenarios because the 2 times the Eagles went to the Super Bowl. Well, I guess they've gone 3 times. They played the exact same teams to get to the Super Bowl. They went through Minnesota and the Cowboys, and there was a third team that I think the Rams. I don't know. I forget now.
No, they had to beat the Falcons.
It was the Falcons. The Falcons. It was the same one in 81 as it was in 17. All 3 times all 3 times they've won the Super Bowl, they've played the same 3 playoff teams in those years. I'm pretty sure it was Atlanta, Minnesota, and the Cowboys, I believe.
Yeah, they played Tampa in 2002 also, right?
Did they beat Tampa? I thought Tampa had a...
Or not 2004. I think they beat Tampa to get to the NFC Championship game.
I don't know, man.
Or maybe it was Minnesota. Look, this is not good radio. So moving along, I know we'd love to talk about the Eagles the entire time.
Sure.
I don't want to belabor the point too much further, other than to say that you kind of convinced me in our conversations about the process and the 76ers that as much as you'd like to benefit from a higher draft position, the experience of fighting to make the playoffs and getting in and getting that game under your belt when you have as young a roster as Philly has, and they are very young, and they're going to have a ton of cap room to bring in some veterans to bolster the locker room next year, I buy into it. And look, after your own heart, man, what is the key building block to any football team at any level? It's the offensive line, and the Eagles got a great one.
It's amazing how they've come together in this team. I think Kelsey is probably one of the best leaders in Philly sports history. I mean, he's got the pulse of this team, this area, the fans. He gets them going. He gets the guys going, and you guys are buying in big time. And I mean, look at you got a left tackle who's an Australian rugby football player. I mean, that's a hell of a decision. Bringing him in and paying him, and he's absolutely been killing it. And Kelsey and they've done a lot this year. They've really, really improved. And everybody's complaining about Lane Johnson, not being in the Pro Bowl, that he's the best tackle in the league. He missed 3 games.
Whatever. The
I don't
Pro
understand
Bowl
why
is kind of
people
a
aren't
sham.
bringing. Oh yeah, there's no doubt about that.
By the way, was it Vikings in the divisional round in 2004?
There you go.
So yeah, thanks to one of the listeners for pointing that out. I have no memory of that game. It's crazy. I guess that would have been Dante Culpepper, right? Or
was it Carter Moss, or was it?
Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy.
I
cannot remember that game at all. So going to the other side of the state, Pittsburgh has got to beat Baltimore, that's always a tough game.
Yes, it is.
But I give the Steelers the advantage there just because of the defense in Pittsburgh and the hospital ward, it's similar to Tampa Bay that Baltimore's got going on the offensive side of the ball. I think the Steelers will win that game. But man, how would you like to have your postseason hopes riding on the Jacksonville Jaguars. My God,
And the tie.
What a terrible feeling. No, they can't have the tie. Yeah, you don't want the tie. But my buddy Chris the Buzzsaw Adamski of the Pittsburgh Tribune Review made a good point. Just like we're seeing guys opt out of bowl games and meaningless games in college football, if you are, the Raiders or the Chargers, and you both get in with a tie, do you just sit all the starters and say, hey, you know what, guys, like nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Let's not get anybody hurt in this game.
I think
right?
Rich
Because
Eisen
the same logic holds up. It's just a meaningless
scenario.
game, right? Just a meaningless game. Why even play it?
Well, it's the same thing as the Eagles Giants last year, and the Eagles rolled over, and the Giants would have gotten in the playoffs at 6-10 last year.
Yeah, and Joe Judge, who was imploding very, very in front of everyone's eyes, was furious. It's like, look, I can't divorce myself from being an Eagles fan here, so obviously I'm biased. But in general, I do not hold it against teams that are eliminated in the final week if they've got roster decisions to make, which the Eagles had on Nate Sudfeld. I mean, I think people who did not follow the team closely were unaware of how long they had carried that guy on the roster. And it's just, the longer you're in the league, the higher your minimum price point goes up.
Yeah.
They had to transition tag him at one point to keep him on the roster. And you never really had any idea whether the guy could play. And, Jalen Hurts was not playing that well, and you got no benefit whatsoever from winning the game. You did get a better draft position. I had no problems with them putting Sudfeld in and just saying, look, can this guy do anything? Because he's going to be a free agent in the offseason. We probably don't want to re-sign him, but, we got to have a backup behind Carson Wentz or Jalen Hurts or whatever, and everything's such a mess. If you're the New York Giants, win more than 6 games, and then you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, he was complaining about it. I'll still laugh at that, and I will too, for a long time. And maybe you should have been better than 6-10 there, buddy.
It was indeed, by the way, Culpepper for the Vikings.
Was it Dante?
Yeah, I mean, come on. If you're a 6-10 team,
you're
to be crying about not hosting a playoff game, that's an embarrassment. Come on. Win more games.
Oh, yeah, because the Eagles flopped. So, hey, it is what it is. I mean, do you roll it out this week? I know it's the Cowboys. It's the hated Cowboys. You don't want to lose the season series, get swept by them.
I think they already answered that question with all those guys on the COVID list, right? That's not coincidental.
I think they're coming back, though. I think it's one of those, if they could test positive, or negative, 24
they're
hours.
not going to play.
You don't think that?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. So you think the Eagles have just nailed it in for the? Okay,
absolutely.
I didn't know if those guys were coming back or not.
And look, there's nothing to say that you don't play hard with the guys you put out on the field. I'll never forget. I think it was one of the years the Steelers actually won the Super Bowl, I think. So it was either 2005 or 2010, where Buffalo had to beat Pittsburgh in Buffalo the last weekend of the season.
Yep.
And the Steelers already had their playoff positioning locked up. So they just played Chaz Batch and all their backups. And they still beat Buffalo. Their backups beat the Bills in a win or go home scenario for Buffalo. So
there's been a lot of Charlie Batch in my life today.
How so?
He offered the Oklahoma wide receiver $1 million to go to play at Eastern Michigan, his alumni.
Are you talking about
Williams? Or the quarterback,
the
I'm sorry.
Quarterback, yeah, okay. Yeah.
Sorry. Offered $1 million by a former NFL backup quarterback.
I think the problem is he's probably on the low end of the bidding pool at 7 figures.
What a world. So I sent you the article today.
That offer, Chaz.
I sent you the offer. I sent you the article today.
Yeah, Texas
I saw
A&M.
it happen, buddy. I could see it coming from a mile away 3 years ago. This was going to happen. So the A&M, they got all their big heavy sponsors together, and they raised $35 million for NIL money for their recruiting class. I know. All you can do is shake your head and say, well, good for the players. It's finally happening, and they're going to get something and this and that, but it's no longer – it's over.
And look, I don't think I'm giving anything away to just say very obliquely that you and I have been part of some conversations off the air about what Penn State can do to be competitive with all of this, at least stay in the game. And it's going to be, as you've said on here for months, very, very difficult for Penn State
Yep.
because of the market we're in, because of the fan base that we have and the way they think about the program and the sport. And you contrast that with some of these SEC programs that just have complete lunatics who will spend ungodly sums of money. And, you go down into Texas and some of these big market schools with uber rich alumni who will think nothing about dropping seven figures on building up their school's recruiting class. All you can hope, and look, given the track record of Texas A&M, it's not a terrible bet.
No.
Is that they will spend all this money and it'll go for naught, and then that will make future donors and future endorsers more reluctant to spend that money.
All right, so I go back to this, and then we don't have the answer to this. Okay, I'm going to give $1 million. I'm a Texas A&M graduate, big fan, want the school to do well, so I'm going to join in that crew. I'm going to donate $1 million. Where's your write-off? Where is your? I mean, how are they handling this money? Because
I don't know what
A&M
is
going through
doing.
a nonprofit.
Well, that's what Texas is doing. So Texas, I'm guessing if Texas did it, A&M probably just copied them. Right?
So then they're creating a nonprofit group and then giving the money out through that.
It's possible.
I mean, they have to. I mean,
the other thing is, look, if
people aren't stupid, they're going to give millions of dollars. They're going to want benefits out of it.
Yeah, well, look, if you're, Tex Jones, A&M class of 1976, you can go and you can get, hey, I'm going to pay Joe Schmo, 5-star quarterback, to come endorse my oil drilling company that I own, right? Okay. You can do it as a commercial transaction.
But it's not a business write-off. You're not getting any kind of tax breaks that you would normally when you give to a university.
No, but you know what? If you give, for example, if you give to a political candidate, you don't get a tax write-off for that. That's just I think I want this person to win.
They don't take money.
So I'm going to give them money. So it's the same deal. You're suggesting there's a quid pro quo unspoken with a political donation. It's probably the same deal. You probably have more control over it when it comes to NIL, because I saw Jay Paterno bring this up on Twitter a couple weeks ago. You can put, buyouts and other kind of conditions on a deal, an NIL deal for a college athlete, and say, hey, this money is conditional on you playing. You can't be on playing time, but it's conditional on you being on the roster for Texas A&M. So no jumping in the transfer portal if you don't get to start next year, or you forfeit this money, or you have to pay it back. The contract language can be whatever.
It's crazy. Who's the kid from Ohio State? He went to Ohio State, got the $4 million deal, and then went back down to Texas. What did he play? How many snaps did he play this year? 3, 4 snaps? Passes? Did he even play? Jeez.
Didn't seem to matter. I think a lot of that money, he had to give his car back to Marky Mark, but I think a lot of the money was following him and not because he went to Ohio State.
Unbelievable. What a world, buddy. I mean, like I said, I've been fearing this for how long, and I'm not the crusty old boomer here who don't want the kids to get anything. I definitely want kids to get paid, but the astronomical amount of money that now it's on the colleges now to get this money out there. And again, we're not too forward thinking in the state college area, and it scares the living hell out of me.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what Penn State is going to do. I don't want to be too fatalistic about it.
How are you competing with? I mean, honestly, think about it. I mean, Pitt has better opportunities for NIL money than Penn State kids. And then again, I'm repeating myself constantly, and that is that
turning my stomach.
Of the 14 Big Ten schools, there's only 2 or 3 that are non-cities.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
we don't have the wherewithal here to sustain this. We can't do this. And then
those teams stink. So it doesn't matter.
And then the other thing is that, Penn State is already in the community getting advertisement from the community, and now you're just going to say, okay, now we're competing with our players for this money. It's just, again, I had the same argument over and over and over and over again. So I just don't like where it's at. I would rather just everybody get give them $5,000, $10,000 a month. Everybody gets the same amount of money. you're a scholarship player, but then I know it doesn't end there. I understand that, the Title IX, are you giving it to all college athletes, only football players, only starters,
Well, look, there's a lot of money. I'm not prepared to talk in specifics right off the top of my head, but I know there is a lot of money when it comes to media rights for college athletics. And I wish it sure as hell much rather see the money in the players' pockets than going to like $250 million facilities expansions that is full of nonsense we don't need. And we only have because we're trying to entice the kids to come here in lieu of them being able to make any kind of material benefit off of it. So, yeah, man, I think the good and the bad thing about college football right now is that nobody is in charge. It is just like totally chaos out in the wild. Yeah. So it's fascinating because who knows how it's going to end up. But it's scary as hell because there's no plan, right? This is just like the Joker in The Dark Knight, man. Like someone wants to watch the world burn, and that's what we're going to get over the next few years. And I think that someone is probably Nick Saban.
Ooh, baby.
Yeah.
What do you think Nick's got left? Maybe 5 years?
5 more years? I think I'll go about 5 more years.
5 years.
I think, look.
Again, I go back to it.
If Tom Brady can play till he's 50, Nick Saban can coach till he's at least 80.
I don't think he has it in him. I really don't. I mean, but I go back to it.
I'm sure that guy isn't a robot, man. But go ahead.
Right. I go back to it from the start, and that's always been, when I was getting recruited, Joe's leaving there soon. Joe's old. I mean, Nick Saban is over 70 right now.
Yeah, no, I'm sure they're starting to say that about Nick now. Like, son, Coach Saban ain't going to be there by the time you're ready to graduate. Yeah, but I think he's going to coach for plenty more years.
Wow.
I do.
Well, I mean, he's got it rolling on pretty good right now.
Yeah, so. I mean, he's clearly hasn't lost a step, and I do think he's another one of those guys like Bear Bryant and like Joe. What else is he going to do with his life? He looks healthy, man. I think if you are counting on Father Time to take Saban out of the equation, I think you're going to be waiting for a while. Which leads me to at least ask, since this is the last time we'll be on the air before Monday night, who you got?
Who do I got? Title game.
Georgia -3, by the way. How about that?
Crazy.
Yeah.
I just think it's neutral. I think that Georgia it's tough to play a team a second time and to beat them a second time at that. I mean, Alabama mentally is like, all right, we know we can beat this team. And Georgia is sitting there saying, I know this team can beat us, so I'm going to be that much more prepared.
Bama LSU type scenario?
Exactly.
Back in 2011?
Exactly. You know what I mean? And that is that, it's a mental thing where I don't think the Alabama guys are going to train this hard because they feel as if they're superior to Georgia.
I don't know, man.
I know.
Saban doesn't let that stuff happen.
I understand that, but that's, normally what type of thing happens. I mean, Alabama's been there, done that. How many years in a row? And Georgia's their first time in the title game, right?
Do you remember when
the playoffs?
They squared off for the national title about 5-ish years ago? The Georgia-Bama title game.
Isn't that where Tua came in and replaced Hurts?
Yes.
Yeah.
Missed field goal was the difference in that game. Yep. A missed Georgia field goal. So they were so close.
And did Tua throw an overtime bomb to
Yeah, but the point is that wouldn't have been an OT game if Georgia doesn't miss the field goal earlier on. So, by the way, Devontae Smith.
Yeah.
That guy, great news for Eagles fans.
Yes, sir.
But
but that's who he threw to. You're right.
So Kirby Smart clearly knows how to hang with his mentor, right? But on the other hand, Alabama just has that huge mental edge. And the one thing I got to say about the SEC title game this year is it didn't surprise me that Alabama won, because at this point, if you are doubting Saban in those situations, you're a total fool. But my God, Georgia's defense looked so legit all throughout the year.
Yeah.
And the way they got absolutely used and abused by Bill O'Brien and by Alabama, you don't got to take them behind the woodshed like that. You just got to beat them by 1 point.
Yep.
I have a tough time. I have a tough time having faith in Georgia because
they've never done anything for you to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Well, because that game was supposed to be where they proved everything they had done over the course of the season was for real. We saw during the bowl season that downstream of Georgia and Alabama, the SEC was not an elite conference this year. We all thought Georgia was for real because one of our first impressions of them this season,
swamping Clemson,
who we all thought was Clemson, right? So, again, in retrospect, that win doesn't look nearly as impressive as it did at the time, especially because you go back to how few points Georgia was able to score against the team that couldn't even get in the ACC title game. The ACC was terrible. So that SEC title game was supposed to be when they showed you who they really were, and it was a total debacle. And then, again, I think you and I both had too much faith in Michigan, right? Like you thought they were going to be competitive also, right?
I thought they were going to come out and take away Georgia's.
They looked like a great matchup.
Game.
Yeah, they looked like a great matchup for Georgia. I thought
what Michigan did to Ohio State was just. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. I mean, they completely abused their Ohio State's offensive line, and as we saw this past week, that's a pretty good damn offensive line.
Yes,
and but Georgia just manhandled them every up and down, every. It's like just like Michigan wasn't ready to play. I think they just figured they could roll their hat out there, and they would have an Ohio State type of.
Yeah, I mean, again, like if at this point you are not kind of expecting a Jim Harbaugh Michigan team to fold in the clutch, it's sort of like doubting Nick Saban in a win or go home scenario.
So it was sort of like Andy Reid winning the Super Bowl and everybody thinking last year, he's off the schneid. You know, he can win the big one all the time now. And then he laid that egg last year.
You know, one's enough for Andy Reid. I think I was rooting for him big time in the first Super Bowl, and I love Andy Reid, but I don't want him to get number 2 before Philadelphia does.
Depends on who's they're playing, who they might be playing.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. I
would be the biggest Andy Reid fan on earth if Dak and the boys somehow
we keep on talking
their
about
way through,
and
that's the Super Bowl.
Dude, the NFC East is horrible.
Yeah, no, look,
don't
mistake me. Don't mistake me. But all I'm saying is, if they're there, they got a chance, and if they got a chance, I'm rooting for whoever's playing against them.
I agree.
So going back to Michigan and Georgia and the aftermath of that playoff game where the Big Ten, unfortunately, once more got embarrassed, just like Michigan State, there is a fair amount of chatter around Jim Harbaugh and specifically the Bears' anticipated job opening, but some kind of an NFL gig.
Do you think?
Well, I'm asking you. I want to get your take on it first. So there's obviously there's the alignment between him and the Bears because that's the team who drafted him. He was a Bear for a long time, and his type of football will go over well in Chicago. It'd be kind of crazy to see Jim Harbaugh coaching Justin Fields.
Whoa. What a world.
But again, I said if Jim Harbaugh left Michigan to go back to the NFL now, that would be like George Bush posing in front of that mission accomplished banner, right?
in the aircraft carrier?
Right. Like, well, we got to the playoffs, everybody. What do you want?
We're good here. We beat Ohio State. I got to go. Good talking to you.
But you buying that?
I don't know. I saw that last night he might be going to the Raiders, the Bears, and I'm just like pretty much laughing like, oh, my God, would that not be – that would break Michigan people's hearts.
It would be hilarious. You and I would love it.
We would love it.
Yes.
But I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I think he's got it going on pretty damn good there right now. Or, he might feel as though, hey, we're losing a lot. I'm going to go right back to it. We're losing this big senior-laden team. And
so look, I'll say a couple of things here. I don't think he's going to go.
Yep.
I have always thought it was a little irregular how generally disinterested he seemed about going back to the NFL, because anyone who gets as close to the absolute pinnacle of the sport, the Lombardi, as he did, I mean, one play away. And he went to 3 NFC championship games, like got very quickly, very close to winning the Super Bowl. Anybody in that profession, you think that's what they're trying to do. And if you get that close, the bug is going to come back and bite you. But the caveat was the guy grew up in Ann Arbor.
Yep.
His dad coached for Bo Schembechler. He quarterbacked Michigan. That's in his blood in a way that maybe offsets that, I want to go back to the NFL. So it makes sense to me that he would want to stick around and keep building in Michigan. But here's the big but. In general, man, I think if you are king shit at a blue blood college football program, why would you leave? As long as you can tolerate recruiting, especially with the money these guys are making now,
right now,
why would you leave?
That would drive people crazy, I think.
But that's the big key with Jim Harbaugh. They made him I think they embarrassed him last year. They made him do something I have never, ever, ever heard of anyone doing at any level of football. They made him take a pay cut to stick around.
Yep.
And so the one thing that does give me pause in all of this is that if an NFL franchise comes calling with a big paycheck, which Chicago, Las Vegas, probably one or two other teams absolutely would, and you're Jim Harbaugh and you're like, look, you guys kicked me when I was down. My alma mater. You guys embarrassed me. And I'm making like peanuts. Like his base salary is $4 million. It's like Jeff Brom's making twice what he's making. So, and then all of a sudden an NFL team comes and they're like, here's $12 million a year.
Hear me out here. I think he went to Michigan and said, I don't deserve this money. I need a pay cut. I want my money and incentives. That is a horrible type of thing to do. Because you just said it yourself, it's never, ever, 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 ever happened. Where they're going to say, okay, we're going to strip your base salary down to this, and you got to earn all this money.
Yep.
I think personally, he was like, trust it, trust the process. We're there. If you want to do this, do it. I'll take less money, or pay me all my money in incentives. That's a Jim Harbaugh thing to do.
Well, when your other option was coaching the Detroit Lions, right? Like I could see that.
Biting ankles with the Detroit Lions. Biting kneecaps.
Kneecaps, yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. As a Penn State fan, I do think the way Michigan's season ended is advantageous for us because now at least it deflated some of the momentum that they had going into that playoff bid.
Yep.
And if Harbaugh leaves, best news of the offseason for the Nittany Lions because it's all about who can be in the on-deck circle to take on Ohio State. And Michigan took a step forward, and Penn State took at least one step back.
I'm telling you, man, Ohio State's in there. I have a feeling Ryan Day might be on his way out. Speaking of the Bears,
I know you've mentioned that. You think maybe an NFL job in his future.
I don't know, man. I don't know if it's the Bears that like him. But
going back to Justin Fields, that's a logical alignment, right?
But honest to God, these coaches have to be looking at this NIL and this money thing and being like, okay, this is completely screwed up right now.
Yeah.
I'll
go somewhere where the GM's in charge of paying the players.
Right? I talked to somebody yesterday. I said, but these these agents of players and coaches are going into universities and just negotiating the crap out of like contracts and stuff. Think about that. James Franklin's agent goes in and gets a brand new contract when he had no right getting a brand new contract. He went and did it. And
an amazing contract. This is why I laugh at people who say next year is crucial for Penn State and James Franklin. I'm like, well, maybe for Penn State, but not for James Franklin. Like that guy can't get fired. Like he could go 1-11 next year. And you know what would happen? He'd come back in 2023.
Uh-huh. So, let's see these guys going in there and getting these deals done with the universities and, they're dealing with people with the athletic departments who aren't used to dealing with big money negotiations. Now you have players in there negotiating stuff. I do want to talk to a player right now. I had some of my homework this weekend, I think. And I want to understand, are players signing with agents? Is that how are they getting these deals done? Type of thing. I mean, I know
I think
you and I have done some work on it.
You can work with representation. You cannot have you can't have an agent who is like a registered NFL agent. Because to represent a player in the NFL, you have to be registered with the league and the players union.
Yes.
And I think if you are, I'm not positive about this, but I think if you are one of those agents or you work for an agency that employs them, you cannot represent NCAA athletes in NIL deals. I think that's the way it works.
So, I mean, there's a whole set.
But again, good luck enforcing that,
whole
right?
set. Yeah, exactly. That's the NCAA. Okay, you guys got this, right? Okay, yeah, go ahead. Have fun. That's like the NCAA is the people leaving the bowl of candy on their front porch on Halloween and saying, just take one.
Yeah, just take one. Yep.
The first person there gets a whole basket full of candy.
Yeah, I'm leaving town. Here's the bowl of candy. Whatever happened. Look,
a football game on. You're like, hey, see what I see the door?
Don't blame me. Your kid came home with a bag full of candy. Like I wasn't home.
Yep.
The sign clearly said, "Just take one."
Just take one.
Yeah, very good analogy. Look, I've been saying since this started that Penn State should have been reaching out to Shafi Fields. And there are I know him because he's a former player. There are at least one or two other.
Derek Gilmore.
You see an agent? Yeah, I knew there were at least one or two others. A couple others who didn't play, but they're Penn State alumni. They can't represent the players, but bring them in on the athletics department side and say, hey, can you form like an advisory group for us to figure out how we can navigate this?
Maximize it. I mean, I
don't feel, again, I don't have any insider information about this at all, but I don't feel just watching from the outside like we are prioritizing NIL or the transfer portal like we need to be.
Nope, I don't think we are at all. I think we're so infatuated across the board with new facilities and facility upgrades that, I mean, you said it a month ago. How much money is enough money, your recruiting budget? No, are you out recruiting high school kids or are you out recruiting transfer portal kids? Because I'm looking at Micah Shrewsbury, and I just want to say he absolutely kicked the living crap out of the transfer portal, put a damn good team together right now that are playing very, very well and playing very tough in the Penn State Hoops team. But, I mean, James is going to have to go into the portal the same way. He's got to get O-linemen. I mean, there's
at least two.
There's no way around it. He needs to get
two, not at least two. He needs to get two, I think.
So, Booch, now I got this in my head now. So you got guys. I heard the other night. I heard a guy. He was a junior. It was one of the '98 bowl games, and they said this is his third college in 4 years. This is his third university he's played for. And you're just like, what the hell is going on?
Do you want to know what blows my mind?
It's just like, okay, so I have a football letterman's club. The Penn State Football Letterman's Club.
Yeah.
Are guys who play 1 year in letter, are they in that group and then they leave? I don't want them in there. You're not a Penn State guy. You left.
Yeah. Can I ask you a loaded question since you brought it up?
Sure. Silas Red?
No. What about guys like Tommy Stevens or Will Levis? Those guys,
I don't know what to say, buddy.
I mean, they put a lot of time in. They helped us win games, both of them. Those are the first two who come to mind.
Well, how many years? They were here 3 years total, 2 years?
Yeah, Tommy Stevens was at least 3, maybe 4.
But he has each of the 2020 and get another year out of this.
Well, Will Levis.
Yeah.
Levis was 3, I think. Yep.
I just saw Tommy Stevens signed up in Canada. But it's where are we at there? I mean, it's just so many questions and typical of the NCAA. But it's the same thing we say every week. It's like the NCAA will say yes to anything to keep their hand in the cookie jar.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Well, we're here. We're at State College's Quaker Steak and Lube. Great place for wings. Great place for sports. This is the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show. I'm Chris Buccanani, filling in for Ironhead with Keith Goon Conlon. We're going to keep it on Penn State on the other side of this quick break because one of the all-time greats of linebacker U is going into the College Football Hall of Fame. So we're going to talk about LeVar and talk about other Nittany Lions who may be headed for enshrinement there in the near or maybe not so near future. Keep it locked. We'll be right back.
Lion Country Kia is offering exceptional deals on your new Kia during Kia's Command the Season event.
We have a nice selection on the 2021 Kia Sportage with various options and prices as low as $26,800, saving you $3,000. Or if you demand big power and towing capacity, slip into one of the 2021 Kia Sorrentos available on our lot, starting at $32,680.
Discover why Kia drivers throughout the area come to Lion Country Kia or visit online at lioncountrykia.com.
Quaker Steak and Lube is throwing open the garage doors and setting up the umbrellas. It's patio season. Come enjoy great food, drinks, and fun in the sun. There's always something happening at Quaker Steak and Lube, but we're really amping up our event calendars for our favorite time of year. Visit thelube.com to find out what's happening at your local lube this season. Lunch, happy hour, dinner, or late night, indoors or outside, at Quaker Steak and Lube, you'll always find big flavors, friendly faces, and lots of fun.
Hi, Johnny Broom here. If you're in the market for a new Hyundai or a pre-owned car, truck, van, or SUV, nobody beats a Blaze Alexander deal. But don't take my word for it.
Hey, Goon says tell him Johnny sent you.
Hey, tell him Johnny sent ya.
Tell him Johnny sent you.
Wait, tell him Juan or tell him Johnny sent you?
Tell him Johnny sent you.
Here at Bill Pickles Tap Room, we say,
tell him Johnny sent you.
And remember,
Hey-o, we're back. We're done talking about the Fox robots.
Hello.
Fox NFL robots.
Well, tell them what you got to show me. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, okay. So I am going to show Goon off the air. I wish I could pull it up. I don't have the link with me. It's on my phone. Maybe next week. It's amazing. It's the opening to the very first NFL on Fox broadcast from 1994. It's got Terry Bradshaw riding a horse. It's got the most amazing lineup of hilarious quarterback names I have ever heard assembled. Like if you and I sat down and said, let's intentionally make a list of the funniest former NFL quarterbacks we can come up with, it would be not as funny as this just serious intro of the games that were going to be played that day. And I remember, real quick before we talk about the College Hall of Fame and LeVar Arrington, I remember going over to a friend's house for that because it was such a big deal. It's like, oh my God, the NFL's on a different network.
Yep.
We had never experienced that. And I just remember having my mind totally blown that they were going to put the score and time on the screen for the whole game. That was the first time anybody ever did it. Credit to Fox, man. That was probably one of the biggest steps forward in broadcasting live sports
we're talking about
in the history of it.
John Madden,
what
he brought to that game. And was he part of the Fox in 94?
Yeah, that was the big coup that they landed John Madden. Yeah.
You got to realize that in 94, Fox was, I guess they were probably 3 or 4 years old. I remember Married with Children,
a little bit more.
80s and Simpsons.
Yeah, probably about
but for
7,
them
8 years
to
old.
take away from CBS and NBC, take away one of it was a monster thing.
Yep.
Rupert Murdoch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fox News and Fox, and he bought all that. That's gonna be pretty fun. Pretty funny to watch.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's incredible. I'm not going to tell you any of the names. I'm just going to tease you. They're all amazing. Okay, so LeVar Arrington officially selected to the College Football Hall of Fame. Apparently, he announced it before he was supposed to. Like, they sent him his acceptance stuff, and then there was fine print that said, like, don't announce this on social media. And so he had to apologize. And I'm like, guys, it's 2022. If you want someone who doesn't work for you to not share information on the internet, don't give that information to them. If you send out to like a bunch of random folks that they got selected to the College Football Hall of Fame, like that's it. Like it's out of your hands. It's going to Twitter. Yeah. Just accept it.
My experience up there a couple of years ago with Kerry Collins getting put in was absolutely amazing. And you're going to put me on the spot here and talk about other Penn Staters that deserve to be in it and stuff like that. And I will tell you, if anybody ever has an opportunity to go to the awards there, it is really, really, really cool. You see every head knocker in the world there. It's not cheap. I know that KC actually had paid for all 5 of his offensive linemen to come to the event.
That's really cool.
Oh, yeah, that definitely was. He paid for a table. He paid for the 5 of us to have the dinner at the affair, and You know, me and Bucky tell the story. We actually both went out and bought tuxedos because you know what? I'm going to be here in the next couple of years. We're going to be putting a lot of people in here.
Yeah,
was my opinion.
No, it's still going to happen.
I thought about Kijana. I mean, you're asking guys who should be getting in my era. I mean, you got to say that, you know, Kyle Brady, Kijana Carter, Bobby Ingram, and Jeff Hardings are the other 4 offensive All-Americans on our. I can't imagine any 4 of them not getting in. They all are rightfully deserving to get in. I know Bobby was the original Biletnikoff winner. I think he's for sure. Kijana was
for that alone. Yeah. I feel like, yeah.
You know, Bobby was a 2-time All-American. Kijana was a 1-time, but finished number 2 in the Heisman. Won the running back award, all that stuff, and you know. It's not the NFL Hall of Fame. It's the College Football Hall of Fame.
And that was, you know, with few competitors, one of the most dominant offenses in the history of the game. You can absolutely, when you look at comparable numbers across college football during that season before and after, you can make a very convincing argument that it was the most dominant offense in college football history. But it's right up there in the mix. And just like there are some guys who, you know, maybe on a Joe Schmo team would have been marginal, who got into Kenton because they were part of the Steel Curtain dynasty in the 70s. I think, you know, you got to give the benefit of the doubt to guys who were part of that 1994 Penn State offense.
I look at 1995 was my last season. I believe it was Troy, somebody from Iowa State, ran for 2,000 yards. Remember that? Troy, not Troy Smith, but, you know, Troy Davis, I believe his name.
Yes, yeah.
That was the big threshold. Get to 2,000 yards, you win the Heisman and stuff like that. So we had always talked about, you know, because we had all come back from the '94 team on the offensive line, except for Bucky, and you know we ended up losing 3 games my senior year. So sort of a letdown year and this and that. But I think that, you know, go back to it. Kijana should get in. Bobby should definitely get in. Kyle should get in for sure.
Yep.
And Jeff. I mean, Jeff is. They're the hardest ones, but Jeff was, you know, 4-time All Big Ten, All Academic, 3-time All American. I mean, it was pretty damn impressive what he was doing.
I don't know that it matters or should matter, but I can't imagine that it hurts when you have a Super Bowl ring, you know, after the fact, right?
Yeah. I mean, Jeff didn't win any, you know, he didn't win the Outland or anything like that. I don't want the Nebraska guys our years, but, you know, I think that of the 4 of my offense to the left, Bobby, Kijana, Kyle, and Jeff, I think that Jeff has the least because he's an offensive lineman.
Sure.
But I think he should be in there first. I mean, he was that good. I mean, there was no doubt about it. It's not an NFL Hall of Fame. Again, it goes back to your college days. And, you know, even though Jeff had a great NFL career too, but I mean, his college football career, he was an absolute stud. He should be in there. Historically, I think that Steve Wisniewski should be in there.
Yes,
I know that he'd been on there a long time.
He paradoxically might get into the NFL Hall of Fame before he gets into the college,
which is crazy. And I don't think, this is my honest opinion, I don't think Joe pushed that type of stuff. Whereas now, I think that Penn State pushes a lot of their alumni guys on that type of stuff. Because,
I'm sure.
You know, any news is good news.
You stick it up on the wall, frame it in neon.
Exactly, no doubt about it. I mean, that's one of your, you know, this is now our 35th player in the College Football Hall of Fame type of thing. So, I mean, Munchak's in there, right?
I'm sure he is. Yeah.
So Joe should. I don't know if Joe's in.
He is.
He is already.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So I agree with you on all the 94 guys. Then, so just going forward, kind of projecting who from the last 20 years.
Let me think now.
Well, I'll give you an easy one right off the bat. Was on the ballot with LeVar, did not make it this time, but I think is an absolute slam dunk, no-brainer, is Paul Posluszny.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
He's going to be college. Two-time Butkus Award winner.
Him and Connor should be somewhere in there of that era, that crew.
You and I both agree that Dan Connor should be in there. I think it's going to be I think maybe he can get in eventually. I think it'll be a tougher sell for him, partially because for the same reason I think it'll be tough for Jeff Hardings. May just be overshadowed by all the guys he played with. But, he definitely should be there.
Puzz has the name, Puzz, and he had the big games and the big hits, and the whole world knew who the hell he was. And again, it's a college. He is damn freaking good in college, and he should be. And it's a great call. Good job, Connor. Him.
And then after that, I think, obviously you got a little bit of a thin time because of the sanctions. I don't think, Goon, and again, I have to go back. The college hall is pretty permissive in terms of like letting in a lot of players because you've got so many teams.
Yep.
Obviously you're going to have big classes. You can have a lot of people in the hall. I'm thinking about, so Allen Robinson is a guy who absolutely is part of every conversation for the best receiver to play at Penn State. You and I are always going to give the nod to Bobby Engram, but Allen's going to be right there in the conversation.
Yep.
No questions about it.
You could say Robinson is better than Godwin in
Yes.
college.
Oh, for sure. Put up great numbers for multiple years. Did it a variety of different ways. Big plays, explosive plays. I think you can make a strong case for him, but I also think the problem for college wide receivers is going to be the same that you're seeing for pro, in that the numbers have just gotten so inflated across the board, it's easy to get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
So if I had to guess on A-Rob, I would probably say probably not. I hope
it's
I'm
a
wrong.
long shot, but I think that he probably is deserving. Courtney Brown.
Boy, that is a great question. Man, you want to talk about one of the most dominant college players I've ever seen.
Oh, my God. Absolutely he was.
Unstoppable.
It was insane.
He was good enough to be an NFL Hall of Fame player if he could have stayed healthy and been in the right situation. And being hurt on the Cleveland Browns is the opposite of that.
Oh, yeah. So,
but yeah, that's a great one. I'm gonna say yes to Courtney Brown. I think he gets in eventually. I do.
Yeah, and I don't know who pushes for it. I mean, who's in charge of getting our guys nominated? But Jeff should be nominated. Bobby, Kyle, and Kijana should all be on that. I really think so. Wisniewski's, I think he may have come down off the list. And I think he was on there for 10 years. I think Blair Thomas was on that list at one point too.
Yeah.
DJ Dozier's been on that list, but I don't think that either of those three, all of those two, DJ and Blair, I don't think they're going to get in.
So we got Kerry Collins in from the 94 team, still waiting on Brady and Carter. Let's flash forward a little bit. The kind of the latter day version of that trio in McSorley, Barkley, and Gesicki. I think for sure Saquon Barkley is going to get in because he's got the name, right?
Absolutely.
No doubt.
For sure. Yeah, he's getting in 100% for sure. I mean, there's McSorley won a lot of football games here, so I mean that they could push him for that. That's a lot of he did a lot of things here for Penn State, so I mean I think he has a shot more than
he's got a great story.
No more than
got a great
no
name.
Other Penn State quarterback would be on that list, in my opinion. I mean, Todd Blackledge.
No, yeah,
I don't think Todd's. I don't think he's a College Football Hall of Fame guy. Do you? I mean, he has the name. He's in the media.
The one thing I will say about Blackledge, again, this goes back to what I was saying about the 94 team and in viewing their stats in context. He was the quarterback of the first team in college football history to win a title throwing the ball more times than they ran it.
Penn State.
Yeah. And so, look, in the history of the sport, that's a significant milestone.
Sure.
Probably, an indicator of the direction the offense was going to go over the next 40 years. So, like you said, he's got the brand name of Penn State. He's got the ring. Everybody knows him because of the broadcasting career. Yeah, I mean, another one of those maybe benefit of the doubt guys who gets in.
Does Kenny Jackson get in? All-American wide receiver from Penn State.
Same point.
First round pick of the Eagles. I mean, hell of a player.
Dominant
career.
Player.
Yeah, I mean, geez. For many years, too.
And again, just all about context. What were other receivers doing in and around that time in the game?
I'm with you, bud.
Okay.
So I just who do I think it's in next? I think Kijana. I believe, I don't know, again, who's nominating from Penn State. Can you put multiple guys to be nominated each year, or is this going to be one or two? But did you say that Puz was on the list?
Yes, he was on the ballot with LeVar this time, did not make it in.
Man, that's weird. I usually hear of the of who was on the ballot, actually. You know what I mean?
It was in something of a news story when it was announced who was on the ballot.
Okay. I mean,
it's been kind of a weird year.
A little bit.
For Penn State, especially.
Oh. We need to get our NIL stuff fixed, Bucci. Absolutely. Huge weekend, man. Wrestling, basketball, hockey tonight or tomorrow night.
Yeah, the Boilermakers coming to town this weekend to face the men's basketball team. That is going to be a stiff test for Micah, trying to get his guys over 500 in the Big Ten. 2-2 right now. Look, this is not a great roster, but they are playing, I think, about as well as they are capable of, and they're fighting. They fight the whole time. And I've said from the beginning, that's what I'm looking for from year one of Micah Shrewsbury when you don't have the horses. And, especially if the season starts to get away from you, it stinks for them that they had to have 3 non-conference games that I think were going to be 3 wins taken away because of the COVID stuff. That's bad for a team that's going to struggle to find W's in the Big Ten. It just helps you to have a little bit better looking record. But as you go down the stretch, if you're not in it, do the guys keep fighting? How hard do they play? And so far, I have very few complaints about the way I've seen this team play.
I mean, again, I'm not happy with how Pat was kicked to the curb, I guess, per se. But it's nothing to do with supporting Micah Shrewsbury as a coach. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. You support the program, support the man. You can be upset and, let your feelings be known, which I have. But nothing he's done that I'm not against him. I'm happy as hell. That was a great game last night.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great comeback. We haven't done that in how many years?
Hey, look, man.
I know it's Northwestern, but it's a win on the road in the Big Ten and hoops.
I was just going to say, it's a road conference game, and we have watched Penn State basketball absolutely faceplant against much worse teams than Northwestern. So when we hired Micah Shrewsbury, I said that I thought it was the best hire that Penn State could realistically make. Look, would there have been better coaches you can bring in with stronger resumes? Yeah, of course, but they weren't coming to Penn State.
Agreed.
So you bring in a guy with championship caliber experience in college, a guy who's been part of a winning Big Ten program. And, Matt Painter's Purdue team has been, you look quietly, man, that has been probably the most consistent program in the Big Ten while he's been there.
What does Painter always have?
Like dominant big men?
7'6" guy in the middle again this year.
Yep.
I don't know. Comb his hair like the last 2 guys.
Look, it helps to coach in Indiana, right?
Absolutely.
They grow them on trees out there.
It's like coaching in Pennsylvania, coaching football in PA.
Yeah.
We need to get back to that. Get it. But Notre Dame in town for hockey this weekend, 2 big games. That would be a big time weekend for us to take 2 away from the Irish.
Sure would.
Wrestling at Maryland. So
just keep it going. Yep.
Rocking and rolling, baby. Hoochie coo.
So,
ooh yeah.
Steelers, Ravens. Who you got?
Tie.
Okay. So, do you think it's going to be a tie? I don't know what happens.
I want them to tie too.
I actually don't know the scenario.
What if they tie and
the Ravens and Steelers tie?
The Raiders and the Rams tie. The Raiders and Chargers.
Oh, they're in. They're in. If that game's a tie, they're totally in.
I just want to see Jacksonville beat the Colts. And I always want to see what would happen.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Pittsburgh
Let's go Jags.
Yeah, absolutely. And have a complete meltdown.
I want to see Gardner Minshew throwing to, whatever practice squad receivers the Eagles decide to bring in, upset the Dallas Cowboys. 10 wins in Nick Sirianni's first season. Jalen Hurts does not need to play deep into this football game or at all, frankly.
So Gardner's, he's on his recruiting trip then.
No doubt.
Yeah, listen,
No doubt.
Get the work in. Oh, yeah. Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, I mean, look, Denver's going to need a new quarterback next year. They seem like they get a different one every season. So there you go.
Interesting.
Gardner
could be
trying out for the Broncos.
Steelers. Could be the Steelers quarterback next year. I think he's a hell of a quarterback. I really do. Watching that game this year when he came in.
Yeah, I think he's solid. I think he's not a top 20 quarterback, but he could be a low level starter and
a guy who could be competitive.
Very
and
good
keep
backup.
Your game in it, keep your team in the game, man.
Yep.
So either way, have a good weekend, Bucci.
Absolutely. This has been a pleasure. As always, thanks everybody for hanging out with us. Yeah. Go Flyers. Take care of yourselves and each other. Quaker Steak and Lube here in State College for Wings Sports. We're out.
Lion Country Kia is offering exceptional deals on your new Kia during Kia's Command the Season event.
We have a nice selection on the 2021 Kia Sportage with various options and prices as low as $26,800, saving you $3,000. Or if you demand big power and towing capacity, slip into one of the 2021 Kia Sorrentos available on our lot, starting at $32,680.
Discover why Kia drivers throughout the area come to Lion Country Kia or visit online at lioncountrykia.com.
Quaker Steak and Lube is throwing open the garage doors and setting up the umbrellas. It's patio season. Come enjoy great food, drinks, and fun in the sun. There's always something happening at Quaker Steak and Lube, but we're really amping up our event calendars for our favorite time of year. Visit thelube.com to find out what's happening at your local lube this season. Lunch, happy hour, dinner, or late night, indoors or outside, at Quaker Steak and Lube, you'll always find big flavors, friendly faces, and lots of fun.
Hi, Johnny Broom here. If you're in the market for a new Hyundai or a pre-owned car, truck, van, or SUV, nobody beats a Blaze Alexander deal. But don't take my word for it.
Hey, Goon says tell him Johnny sent you.
Hey, tell him Johnny sent ya.
Tell him Johnny sent you.
Wait, tell him Juan or tell him Johnny sent you?
Tell him Johnny sent you.
Here at Bill Pickles Tap Room, we say,
Tell him Johnny sent you.
And remember,